Hello, good evening. I hope you can hear me. Oh dear, it doesn't look like my microphone's going up and down. Jesus Christ. Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me? Is my mouth moving about and sound coming out, or is it just me? Can anyone hear me? Am I really quiet? Yeah, I'm hoping that's referring to the sound. I feel like the guy from Black Books here with my wine. Hello, everyone. Interesting day. Biden has now officially been projected for Georgia, and the wonderful thing is that even if he loses Georgia for some reason, even if he loses Georgia and Arizona, Biden still wins. If for some reason he doesn't win Pennsylvania and Michigan, Biden still wins. So Trump is circling the drain, to use the proper medical terminology. And if anyone just watched the press conference that he just gave, his usual rambling shite about the stock market's up, and it's like, yeah, that's because they know you're going, knobhead. And also the fact that this vaccine was totally to do with him. And then this guy came up, and I'm sorry to say, he sounded a bit like Dr. Nick from the Simpsons, and I'm sure I wasn't the only person thinking that. And I thought, oh my God, am I a horrible person for just thinking, oh my God, he's a doctor and he sounds like Dr. Nick. Anyway, he said there was no political interference and this had nothing to do with politics. So he had a little dig at Trump in front of Trump. But the big takeaway for us watchers is that Trump had white hair. He hadn't dyed his hair its usual shade of weird orange. Why might he not? Hi, Phil. Why might he not have dyed his hair this week? I can think of one good reason, because he's going to leave office. He knows he's committed a string of criminal acts, and he knows he's going to go to court. He's going to be put on trial like a normal human being for his crimes. And obviously he's not going to be too pleased about that. And he's going to not want to go to jail. Doesn't want to end up like his good mate, Jeffrey Epstein. So what to do? How do you get out of it? How does a half-mad populist dictator who gets kicked out of office before their time get out of going to jail? I've got Alzheimer's. I've got Parkinson's. I've got all these diseases. I bet he turns up like Harvey Weinstein did in his trial in a fucking wheelchair. Guarantee it. That's what he's going to do. You'll see him in a wheelchair. His hair will be white. And he'll be like, I'm too old and frail to go to jail. And I'll be like, well, you weren't too old and frail to be the president for the next 4 years. And obviously you've been talking about being president again in 2024, which I think would be, you'd be 78 then. And then if you got into power, you'll be in power till you were 82 years old. So you've either one or the other. You're either strong enough to fight this election and run again, or you're so weak you can't possibly spend the rest of your life in jail, which I find ridiculous. I mean, saying to someone you're too old to stand trial, or you're too weak to stand trial. What happens when they go, like a criminal who's caught earlier in their life and dies in jail, like Peter Sutcliffe? Could he just go, oh, I'm old now, can I come out? No, because you committed crimes, and we know you committed crimes, so you're just going to spend the rest of your life in jail, mate. And I just find it a bit weird. They go, oh, he's too old. He's too old now. Can't go to jail. He's too old. Well, why don't we let 80-year-olds just out of jail when they're just dead old? Don't get it. Anyway, that's why his hair was white. As far as I'm concerned, might be wrong. I was wrong today because I said yesterday that I don't think that Dominic Cummings was going to leave. And then he left. But then I was proved right, because then we got a message saying he wasn't actually leaving. And it was all just a publicity stunt, because he wanted a picture of himself coming out of number 10 with a box, you know, like Jerry Maguire, for his Instagram feed, I think. I think that was all for Instagram or TikTok or Twitch or whatever the kids are using these days. He's down with the kids, that man. I love the way he projects the future he predicts the future, sorry, by going into his blogs and editing them so it makes it look like he predicted the future in the past, when the future is now the past. It's incredible. The guy's a genius. I liked the commentary by James O'Brien this morning, where he was talking about Cummings going, he's an idiot. This is the thing about Cummings that people forget or people don't realize. He's made out because of this aura around him and the fact he was played by Benedict Cumberbatch in that movie, the Brexit movie, and on Civil War and Channel 4. They think, oh, he's like Sherlock Holmes. He's got this mind that's just dead, amazing. And he's not. He's like an ad man. He's like an ad man. He's one of the throwbacks from the TV show Mad Men. One of the not Don Draper. One of the lesser ones, probably Peter Campbell. He's sort of a Peter Campbell level ad man. He's not got many good ideas of his own. He just has to steal them off other people, and he's a bit of an idiot, really. But if you put him in a room full of the Tory cabinet, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So there you go. So anyway, he is leaving, I guess. I still will believe it when I say it, but let's say he's leaving. Let's just pretend he's leaving. And someone Ascendant's put that's like Brad Pitt playing Quasimodo. Yes, it is. But let's say he is leaving. What a wonderful thing to do. I just posted on Twitter, actually, the clip from one of the French and Saunders skits where they did Thelma and Louise, and they did the thing going off the cliff at the end, except Louise jumped out the car at the last minute and left Thelma to go over the cliff with the car. And I just stuck a load of labels on everything going, Cummings, Boris, and the cliff was Brexit, and the car was the UK. And it fitted very well. So he's got out now, and that other guy whose name we only learnt yesterday has got out as well. So rats off a sinking ship. Cummings said that he was going to leave once everything was sorted. Once he got, he was in a position to make he was unnecessary. He was unnecessary. He made himself unnecessary. And I guess in a way he has, because if his mission was to destroy the United Kingdom, he's done it. He's set us on this train. He has put it onto full speed. The bridge is out ahead of us, and he's jumped on his horse, and he's galloping off into the sunset while we are all still careering towards certain doom. Today, it was announced that they're going to start hiking up the tax on anyone earning more than $19,500 a year. They didn't put an upper limit on that, which I found a bit odd, because what they really mean by that is they're going to up the tax on people earning between £19,500 and £100,000. £80,000. And anyone above that will probably get a tax break, because anyone above that includes politicians, anyone running a company, anyone who went to private school, the drill. So the middle class will get squeezed again. But you know what? The middle class, to me, seems quite sadomasochistic. I think they quite like being miserable and not having things that are nice, because other people have things that are nice, and we don't like that happening. But yeah, I mentioned Peter Sutcliffe before. He died today. I'll put out there because I just like staring. I just like staring the pot. But I did mention the fact that I can't think of many millennial serial killers. Hashtag just saying. And that all the serial killers that I kind of know from when I was growing up, who were going around being horrific people. Fred West and Dennis Nielsen and Peter Sutcliffe, the Moors murderers, the Dr. Shipman, I really said him, Fred West. They're all of that generation, weren't they? The same as Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris and all those Catholic priests. I'm just okay. I'll stop going down this line. I get into too much trouble. But yeah, it is interesting. Maybe people these days are have got too much happening in their lives. I guess they're too busy to go out murdering. Maybe people, because they can take their rage out playing God of War or Call of Duty or something. That helps maybe, because everyone's got access to porn through the internet now. people are less likely to go out and attack people. I don't know if that's true, because I don't think the sexual violence stats have gone down at all, to be honest with you. But serial killing doesn't seem as fashionable these days as it used to be, which is a good thing. Obviously, it's a very good thing. Although I can't help but think that if someone decided to do, like a House of Wax style Seven kind of taking out certain people who foisted Brexit on us, I don't know if that would be such a bad... Oh, shut up, Graham. No, we can't talk about this. I'll get kicked off YouTube. Serial killing is bad, kids. Don't kill serials ever. So, David saying, didn't you say you were middle class a few days back? Yes, I am middle class. I'm also British. And I'll take full responsibility for Brexit. Even though I didn't vote for it, the British did. Because we are a nation of idiots. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Also, America. I mean, just 70 million people voted for Trump. 70 million people voted for the most vile man in the universe. Wow. Just wow. Anyone else looking in from outside is like, I don't see what you see in him, love. But they love him. They love him to death because he's a millionaire and they can associate with him. He's one of them. He's a self-made man. He's a self-made born millionaire. Gaz is asking, did Jimmy Savile actually murder kids? No, he didn't, but he might as well have done, because obviously his abuse victims, some of them committed suicide. So, horrific, absolutely horrific. And it's horrible the way people got away with it for so long in the 70s and 80s. And what else was disgusting was the attitude of the police at the time. And there was actually an apology today. I think it was from South Yorkshire Police. They were the people in charge on the day of the Hillsborough tragedy as well. South Yorkshire Police. They're great, aren't they? And that they apologised for their language at the time, because there was a lot of victim blaming. It was like, oh, he's killing prostitutes. Oh, they're only prostitutes. And the way they referred to him, referred to the victims as Ripper Victim 1 and Ripper Victim 2 and stuff. It's pretty stomach churning stuff. And obviously we've moved on a bit from that, but not far enough for my liking. But there you go. Mike's pointing out that I Am Middle Class owns an island in the Caribbean. I won an island in the Caribbean. It's not my fault if I'm awesome at game shows or whatever. It's not like I was given it by someone who's dead rich, who was my parents, and said, "Hey, Graham, guess what? It's your birthday. Have an island." But yeah, I would like to be on that island right now, but I'm not. I'm here in Durham. It's fine. Everything's fine. But yeah, so back to Cummings, because I just want to say the way he has chickened out at the last minute, the 11th hour, jumped overboard into the life raft, while we're all stuck on the HMS Titanic, ploughing towards the iceberg that we've been told is amazing. The iceberg is going to save us. The iceberg is all our hopes and dreams and blue passports and sovereignty all mixed into one. And he's rowing off on his own into the night with his little friend, his little demonic friend, who's apparently 39 years old, Lee Kane, or whatever his name is. He's 39. He's 2 years younger than me. He's like 10 years younger than Brad Pitt. I'm like, what the fuck? How is he? How is he 39? He looks like he's chosen poorly. Indiana Jones reference there. I mean, is that it? When people are evil, does it age them faster? Is that what happened to Katie Hopkins? Is that it just turns you, this vileness comes out your face eventually. I don't know. But Dominic Cummings, I was talking about him a lot yesterday, and sort of wrapped it up with his sort of life, potted history of his life story. But what he seems to be is a consummate con man, and him as a team up with Boris Johnson as a consummate liar was a pretty deadly combination, along with Corbyn. And we have to always address this elephant in the room, because I can't stress enough that the Tories didn't win that last election. I mean, they did win it, but not in the way that a lot of people think. Not in the way that Corbyn thinks in that they lost the argument. No, that's not it. The fact is that the Tories only gained 300,000 more votes than last time, than 2017. 300,000 more votes. That's it. Well, countrywide, 300,000 more votes for the Tories than 2 years earlier. Okay, and I know some people would have died and some people would have switched votes, but generally speaking, that's not particularly great. Okay. But they got 80 more seats. How did they get 80 more seats with just that few extra votes? I mean, that's less than 1% of the population. It's about half of a percentage of the population, I think. Someone's going to tell me now that I'm way out, but that sounds about right, doesn't it? 66 million. Anyway, it's bugger all. And what happened with Labour is they lost 2.5 million votes between 2017, when Jeremy Corbyn was given the benefit of the doubt by a lot of people who voted Remain and wanted to stay in the EU, who was given the benefit of the doubt. By 2019, that benefit of the doubt has completely evaporated. And in the EU elections last year, Labour got 14% of the vote. 14% for a major party. And when I pointed this out to a Corbynista, they said to me, hang on. But the Tories only got like 8% or something. I'm like, yeah, and the Tories changed their leader. They got someone who was popular rather than someone who was demonically unpopular, like Theresa May. But even when Theresa May was in her most unpopular bit of being Theresa May, she was still more popular than Corbyn. And that is disturbing. That is like, what the hell? And so they looked at this like actual election. This isn't a poll, it's an actual election. 14%. And all the opinion polls are like, guys, he's getting about minus 40 approval rating. And so, I don't know, that at last election, honestly, Dominic Cummings could have been replaced by a chimpanzee in a little bowler hat, and he would have done as just probably good a job. Boris Johnson didn't really need to do anything. He hid in a fridge, for Christ's sake. He wouldn't do the interview with Andrew Neil. He wasn't anywhere to be seen. Everywhere he went around the country, people just shouted at him what a bastard he was, which was hilarious at the time, but kind of disturbing that a lot of the people who were standing watching that probably thought, oh yeah, he is a bastard, but he's our bastard. But yeah, so I don't credit Dominic Cummings with this kind of supernatural ability to super forecast or be able to manipulate the electorate to his will. You know, the scene in An Uncivil War where he goes, I found these 1 million extra voters that don't vote and they'll vote for us and they will win. And it's like, I don't think it went down that way. I think what happened was he got a phone call and it was from Cambridge Analytica. And they went, hello, we've hacked everyone's email addresses through Aaron Banks' insurance company. And we've got all their emails and we've got all their Facebook details. And basically, we know where they work, where they've been on holiday, who they're likely to vote for. We know everything. And the Leave campaign were like, great, let's set up a load of micro-targeted ads to those people. So what have they got there? So the Auntie Edna has recently posted on her Facebook that she's having a nice cup of tea. So they'll post an advert on her timeline saying the EU is trying to take away your cup of tea. And she'll go, oh, I don't like them. Why are the EU trying to take my cup of tea away? Genuinely what happened. One of the pro-Exit ads just said, I agree with Jeremy Corbyn. And it had yes, no. And that was it. And it was a Vote Leave advert that if you press yes, it took you to their site. If you press no, it took you to their site. Brilliant. And so they got all this free advertising. They overspent. They broke the law. Vote Leave broke the law. Also, Leave.eu broke the law and Believe broke the law. And we don't know about Russian interference because they won't let us have an investigation into Russian interference, which is a bit like finding a murder scene and going, there's been no murder. So what? Well, there's a dead body there. Yeah, but we haven't investigated it, so there's no murder. Okay, well, you're going to do an investigation because there's a dead body there? No, we're not going to do that. No. And yeah, again, something that Corbyn could have called for during his tenure as leader of the opposition was an inquiry into the Brexit referendum and cheating, basically, and undermining democracy. But he didn't. So yeah, I'd like to point out that people, Mike's saying that calling the EU undemocratic, if the UK was to apply today, its entire system of politics would need to be reformed because it's too undemocratic for the EU. It's very true. The House of Lords, you have lifetime peers now, who are given the position by the government in charge. So now we have people like Claire Fox, who is a defender of paedophiles. She is a defender of terrorists. She defended the Warrington bombing in which 2 young boys were murdered by the IRA. And she defended that action. And she defended Gary Glitter's right to download child pornography. This woman shouldn't be allowed out the house, never mind given a role as a lawmaker in this land. And if Labour had put someone like that up for the House of Lords, there would have been hell to pay. Kate Hoey got made a Lord, and she was quite possibly the worst Labour MP, one of them, of all time. But to have a woman who is actively campaigning with Nigel Farage, the leader of a different political party, okay. Meanwhile, Alistair Campbell says on TV, I voted Lib Dem because Labour have just lost their way. He gets suspended from the party instantly. It's an insta-kill. Okay, I see how that works. Anyway, Mike's asking what happened with the investigation. Didn't Boris want to release it months ago? No, Mike, they did release the investigation into Russia, and it came out that Russia had interfered in the Scottish independence referendum. It had interfered in other democratic things, except for Brexit, the EU referendum, because they hadn't investigated it. Plus the security services, GCHQ, MI5, MI6, were basically given all the money from the government to investigate terrorism and not really bother about Russian interference in our democracy, which has eroded and undermined our democracy and will, in the long run, because of economic downturn, and economic downturn costs human lives every time. It will kill more people than all the terrorists in the world put together have ever killed anyone. So yeah, it's pretty frustrating. And I think at the end of the year now, after a series of the last sort of 5 years have been a frustration after frustration after frustration of just people acting like absolute bollock-headed barbarians and getting away with it and just becoming more and more popular. And it's just like it's like watching a movie where the baddie just gets badder and badder, you know. So it's more satisfying when they're finally taken down. But I want the worry taken away. I want the constant sword of Damocles that's been hanging over our heads since the Brexit vote, that's been hanging over our head since Trump got elected. I want that sword of Damocles taken away. I want the leadership of Brazil to change, so much of the Brazilian rainforest isn't being deforested, isn't being burnt down. I want the leadership of Australia to change, because half the Great Barrier Reef is dead. And I feel like I should say this in every single one of my Hughes at Tens. Half of the Great Barrier Reef is dead. It's dead and it's not coming back. And it's dead because of global warming. And if you like, you can go there, get a little boat, go out, and you can look at the coral. It's not very far down, and you'll see that it's all white because it's dead. There's no living things on it anymore. And so this is a moment in human history where we really need to buckle down and work together on this, on a war footing to stop global climate change. I'm hoping this is what Biden's going to do, because if he doesn't win a majority in the Senate, forget doing anything domestically, Joe. Forget about it. Don't even bother. Don't even bother, because you'll waste all your time and energy coming up with great solutions for American people, so that the very people who vote Trump in Alabama and Mississippi are better off, and they'll block you. They'll block you every step of the way. However, with international law, you have international law with your international policy. You can do what the fuck you like. To be honest with you, as leader of America, there's not too many constraints on a president wanting to interfere in the rest of the world. And usually this is a bad thing, especially when they're, I don't know, invading Nicaragua or Grenada or Iraq without permission from the international community. But if they can lead the way on climate change, that would be very, very, that's absolutely crucial for Biden's first 4 years. Chubbai has just mentioned about 40 years of misinformation by the right-wing media, and that's absolutely true. And the driving force behind that is Rupert Murdoch, who is still somehow alive. I have no idea how. Now, recently, Disney bought out 20th Century Fox, and they've actually changed the name of the studio to 20th Century Pictures or something because they don't want Fox in the name, which is funny because 20th Century Fox came about because in America at the time, there were two studios. There was Fox Studios and there were 20th Century Studios, and they came together to make 20th Century Fox. And now they've been split up again, I assume, by Disney because they don't want the Fox name, because Fox News has destroyed the name of Fox. People see that and they go, I don't want to watch this Avengers movie. Why would I want to watch that? But what? Not that they're going to distribute Avenger movies, but you know what I mean. But yeah, you don't want to be associated with it. Now, I don't know if any of you saw Kevin Rudd. He was the old Australian Prime Minister a few years back, very famous for picking his nose and eating it in Parliament, which is never a good look. But he's a good guy. He's on the left, and he went to town about Rupert Murdoch and the fact that he has a stranglehold over the Australian media. And basically, he sets the news agenda. And I touched on this the other day. The way that Fox News operates is it forces stories that shouldn't be in the news into the news agenda. And so there's less room for things like that, that we should be talking about, like all the government's contracts that they're given to their mates, or the COVID death figures, which obviously this week went over 50,000 in the UK. 50,000 people dead, and they're arguing over who's going to be at the Christmas dinner at the fucking number 10. It's ridiculous. And then the other thing that came out tonight from I think it was the New York Times reported this, or it might have been the Washington Post. Over 130 of President Trump's Secret Service agents have got COVID right now. They have COVID right now. 130 Secret Service operatives. These people are in close contact with this crazy guy who's just had COVID and refused to wear a mask. Fox is disgusting, says Schnurge. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Mike saying, so the equivalent of nothing to see here, Jedi mind trick. It is. It really, really is, Mike. It's a way of them just going, look at this distraction. Look at Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, what's he doing? I don't even know the name of Boris's children. I don't know the name Johnson's children. I don't know the name of Corbyn's children. It's never really come into it. And then this weirdo Trump has put his family into all these positions of power within his administration. The total nepotism all over the show. And people who are completely inept in every single way that someone can be inept, like Jared Kushner, who's not even related to him. It's his son-in-law, and he's put in charge of he's put in charge of Middle East peace. And you're like, what? Hang on, and then Mike Pence is put in charge. He's the coronavirus task force headed up by Mike Pence, and I'm like, okay, go on. What are you going to do? He's done absolutely fuck all. And apparently this week he's going on holiday. When just as American numbers are skyrocketing, they're going to be on 250,000 dead people by the end of the year. Probably more. Probably well more. They're probably already there. Phil's saying it's an attempt to create an anti-establishment dynasty. Yeah, of it's the establishment lying to people about who the establishment are. They go, no, it's not us. It's these woke people. It's basically anyone who's rich or famous who doesn't want to, I don't know, hunt pandas for sport. That they're the problem. They're the problem right there, mate. So and you see this time and time again. Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Trump, that they are the man. They've always been the man. They've been the boss. They've been the person who was born into loads of money and went to a private school and had all the doors open to them, golden handshakes all around. They've never had to particularly work hard in their lives because they'll get money whatever they do. And Boris Johnson can get sacked from job after job after job. He got sacked from his job writing for the Telegraph for lying. He got sacked from the cabinet in the early 2000s for lying, and he'd just keep bouncing back. It doesn't matter to him. Trump can have as many bankruptcies as he likes. You know, you have a bankruptcy. Try and run a company. Try and get some credit. They're going to be all over you like flies on shit. Trump has had six bankruptcies. They wouldn't trust him in this country to run a company, but he's allowed to run a country. He's allowed to be the most powerful person in the world. You're like, well, hang on. Surely there's some kind of thing that stands in the way of people just setting up businesses, getting loads of money off hapless investors, and then running off into the sunset. Surely there should be a block on that. Surely there should be a thing that says, hey, don't be getting bankrupt all the time. That's a bad thing. You go to jail because it's your sixth time of being bankrupted. Once might be a mistake. Twice is unfortunate. 3 times is criminal. 6 times criminal mastermind in jail for the rest of your life. And there are countries like the United Arab Emirates that don't have a bankruptcy law. So if you owe someone money and you can't pay it, you go to jail. And then when you get out of jail, you still owe the fucking money. And which is why when everything collapsed in the credit crunch in 2008, so many people ran out of UAE like crazy bitches. Because like crazy people, sorry, sexist Graham, crazy people, because they had to just get out on the next flight because otherwise they'll go to jail for all the money that they owe. And I was in Dubai in 2010, a couple of years after. And just by one of the main highways, there was like some billboard adverts, and you just see through the legs of the billboard adverts in the desert, all these abandoned cars in the desert, all in rows, all neatly parked by the valet or whoever put them there. It's like rows and rows of them. You're like, oh my God, is there a concert going on? Is there a gig? No, they were left behind by everyone fleeing the country. Wow. Okay. But yeah, so I'm not saying the UAE way is the best way to do it, but the American way doesn't seem to be a very good way of doing it either. Maybe we should meet in the middle. Should we say 3 bankruptcies, you go to jail? Like in Monopoly, when you roll 3 doubles. There you go. That sounds easy. Biden, who's lost 2 children, his first wife, have had the Republican calling his remaining son a paedophile because the blind owner of a Trump fan shop supposedly recognized Hunter for getting our laptop. Yeah. This is true. So the person who reported all this stuff about Hunter Biden was registered blind, and then Tucker Carlson was on Fox saying, "Oh, I've got this information, and it's all going to be FedExed to me, and then it's going to be explosive, and you're going to see it." And then it got lost in the post, which is the equivalent of the dog ate me homework. Quite impressive. Wally's saying Farage is a joke. Anyone who has worked in a job for 20 years will consider it to be their career, though. Yeah, not Farage, though, little prick. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah, but Corbyn's been a politician since the 80s, so 40 years. That's a career politician. His entire career, pretty much, is being a politician. But he's not a career politician. That's a weird thing that you get around these cults, around these cult of personalities. You point out what these people are, and they're fans, they're acolytes. No, they're not like that. You don't understand. And I guess in another world, people are going to me, well, how can you say you're middle class? You're on an island. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get how that doesn't really work, but it's just life is a bit messy sometimes. But I would never try and pretend that I wasn't middle class. I would never try and say, oh, you know, I'm from Liverpool, so, you know, we're all working class in Liverpool because we all work, and that, you know, it's all just one big happy community, really. You know, we're all in and out of each other's houses with each other's tellies and that. No, that's a joke. Onto the messages. Kevin Hegarty saying the two Kennedys got taken out for less. Okay, bit dark. Stephanie saying getting into power and then immediately stuffing it sounds more like a career failure. Yes, absolutely. Well, with Farage, he got what he wanted. He wanted Brexit, apparently. But you know what? He never wanted Brexit. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants money. He just wants power. And that's why when Brexit came along and we finally left the EU at the end of January, and now we're in this transition period, he had to turn his focus onto something else. So he went, oh, I'll get in this boat and I'll point at refugees and go, oh, there's a refugee over there, and make out like these refugees are somehow causing all the ills in the world. And then once everyone sort of starts ignoring that, he says, oh, I'm going to found an anti-lockdown party. And I'm like, lockdown's going to last for another month, mate, if that. And then we're going to sort of have these little local lockdowns for a bit. And then we're going to have a vaccine. And then it's all going to go away. Just stop it. Just fuck off, will you, Nigel Farage? Just honestly, you're not needed in society. You're not particularly good at anything except getting people angry about stuff, which is like Richard Littlejohn's job. So I'll tell you what, Farage, get a job writing for the Scum newspaper, and that can be your job. Stop appearing on me TV. I'm sick of looking at you. Although I did think today, I was going to write this on Twitter. It's one of those where you write the tweet and you think, oh, no, I might get banned for this because you're not supposed to wish death on people. But I wasn't wishing death on Farage. I was just saying that, you know, it's been a good week, hasn't it? Because Cummings has gone, Trump's lost, you know, we've got this vaccine for COVID. Corbyn went a couple of weeks ago where he lost the whip. The idea I had was someone said, oh, you know, what else can go right? What else, you know, what is something else good going to happen? I thought, well, you know, Trump, Farage could die. Not because I'm wishing death on him. I'm just saying that could happen. I went all Trump then, didn't I? It could happen. But if it did, what would be really boss, right, is if we set up a shitter on his grave, a bit like the one that Carl Pinkerton had, that he took to, I think he went to the Inca Trail. I think he went to Machu Picchu with it, and it was one of those fold-out chairs that you have at festivals, and it had a Union Jack on it, and it had a hole cut out of the seat. So you could sit down in it and you could shit through the hole in the seat, so you didn't have to use a squat toilet. I think that's a masterstroke by Carl, because like that, I wanted one of them when I was traveling around the world. I hate squat toilets. I will. People say, "Oh, it's better, it's cleaner." I'm like, if I can't sit on the toilet for half an hour and play me Game Boy, I'm not happy. You know, I don't really squatting down, and it's always dead hot. So you're sweating, and you're squatting. And one time, I won't tell you where, but I missed the hole. I missed because the hole's only a bit this big. Okay, I'm not going to go down there. Anyway, so I thought we could set one of these seats up on his grave, right? And we could charge £50 in Kent for every truck driver who really needs to go for a shit to come over. They can defecate on his grave, and we give that 50 quid to a refugee charity. Yeah, who's with me? Just me. Okay. Okay. Squat toilets are people who tend to forget leg day. What the fuck is leg day? Spitting image, have Cummings down to a T. You know, when I signed on just then to do this show, I went over onto, obviously I had to sign into YouTube and stuff, and Spitting Image have done a sketch, which I haven't watched yet, based around Cummings leaving. So I'll have to watch that. Christoph says, how rich is Corbyn? Isn't politics for him just a game he plays out of boredom and ideals? Just like a game of getting more rich for the Tories? Yeah, Christoph, like I say, Corbyn was born rich. Him and his brother Piers. I mean, there's a red flag there. His brother's called Piers. He went to a private prep school, and then he went to a grammar school, or just a normal modern secondary school. But after that, he went to university. Well, no, he went to North London Polytechnic, after graduating from school with 2 E's at A-level, which is like the lowest qualification you can get and still do anything with. And apparently this poly course, this is back before tuition fees, he got a bursary from a trade union who backed him to go and study whatever in this North London college. And he dropped out. You couldn't imagine that now, can you? Paying up £9,000 a year. You're not going to drop out, are you? You know, God, paid £9,000 for this. I may as well get a certificate at the end of it. But Corbyn, now he dropped out, and then he went over to Jamaica for a bit, and then he came back and he got into politics, and he was just in politics ever since. And he's like 70 years old now, and he's still in politics. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't think he has the real world experience that other politicians or other people have to bring to the table. But then again, I look at Dr. Liam Fox and I'm like, did he qualify as a GP? I mean, seriously, he's an idiot. So that worries me as well. Unless he isn't a doctor of medicine, I'm completely getting the wrong end of the stick. He's actually a doctor of Klingon studies at the University of East Anglia. No offense to East Anglia. No offense. I meant it wasn't Oxford or Cambridge. We're getting Wally Waldo said, I wish the pilot had been a career pilot. Was that the one who crashed with Farage in the plane? Do you know that man who crashed the plane that had Farage in it about 10 years ago? Do you know he killed himself? He killed himself. And his family made it quite clear that he had been bullied by Nigel Farage. Just, look it up. As they say, do your own research. But yeah, the pilot who crashed that plane isn't around anymore. Squat trenches in China, nose to tail. I kid you not. Yeah, no. When I travel around the world, I was raising money for WaterAid, and mostly because millions of children die every year unnecessarily of diarrhea, which is one of the most easily avoidable and easily treatable, cheaply treatable diseases in the world. This is a disease that you can literally treat with a sugar salt solution, and these children don't have to die. And also, good sanitation stops other waterborne diseases like cholera and stuff like that. But also, in the back of my head was like, I would quite like it if the toilets all around the world were nice. It's healthy, but also if I have to use them, I did use a few very, very grotesque toilets in my expedition. Some of the worst was like I stayed somewhere in Africa. I won't say where, but basically the shower was above the toilet. So it was a squat toilet, and it had those two bits where you put your feet and you put flip-flops on, you stand basically over the toilet. And because it's a squat toilet, they always smell. Like that's the beauty of a flushable toilet, as it goes around the U-bend. You're not left with the stink. But obviously squat toilets don't do that, so you're left with the stink. So I'm trying to have this shower. I'm trying to wash my hair. And it's just, I've got like literally shit between my feet. I'm like, this is like the most unpleasant shower since Psycho, seriously. Anyway, so Benjamin Ford saying the neoliberal stroke fascists are still there. Atlas Foundation, Taxpayers Alliance, and 55 Tufton Street, think tanks still operating, need to be exposed much more. Yeah, Benjamin, I absolutely agree with you on that one. This idea of think tanks, what are you? I'm a think tank. What do you do? We think about things, and we're going to lobby the government to do what we think. And it's like, okay, who pays you to do this? Nobody. Nobody pays to do. We just all meet up with like a knitting circle or a reading group. We're just doing it for our own altruistic, and actually they're being paid by an oil company or by Rupert Murdoch or by some other nefarious actor, a hedge fund that wants Brexit to happen because they're all disaster capitalists. Gaz Riley said, Paul Mason, same out in India, in the country. Yeah, one of my other horrific toilet stories was when I went to this toilet in in India, and I went in and the lights weren't working and it was really dark and I could just about see, and I had like my old Nokia phone with the torch at the top. So I had the torch on. I went, oh, there's the urinal. So I kind of like put the torch in my pocket because what am I going to put it in my mouth or something to, adjust and get ready. Oh no! As I stepped up to the urinal, it was one of those big porcelain urinals with the big porcelain dividers and the trough at your feet, and I felt like all on my body because I was just wearing a t-shirt and all on my arms, spider web, like the whole thing, spider web, and I fucking freaked out because I'm shit scared of spiders, and I got my light on it, and basically there was two sides to the bathroom, and there was one that was like, don't use this side. And it was all of the urinals were just coated in spider webs, like that scene in Octopussy when Roger Moore's running through the jungle and he goes through all the spider webs and he's still got tarantulas on him. And I had basically walked towards the urinal, got my Johnson out, and walked into a load of spider webs. It freaks me out even thinking about it now, but yeah. Well, how did my I'm going to talk about politics and the news at 10 o'clock each night descended into, here's a story about when I accidentally put my cock into a big spider web. But yes, that actually happened. So Paul's saying character building, you're talking about the toilets. It's not. I still have nightmares, man. Gaz is saying, yeah, Paul, but nothing really bothers me. Mike saying, in Germany, there used to be a thing called Donnerbalken, literally a propped up log over a pit you squat on with your mates to do the business. Will Boris be listening to sang songs? Now he's officially broken his bro romance. I knew him so well, lol. Well, this is interesting, and I haven't really touched on this. I'm going to have to wrap it up soon because, again, I've gone over the half-hour mark. But, an interesting question. Maybe we'll discuss it tomorrow. Like, okay, so Cummings has abandoned Johnson at the wheel just as we go off the Brexit cliff. So he's rode off into the night, and he's left Boris Johnson to do something. The big question now really is, without the pressure of Dominic Cummings, actually Boris Johnson is probably got a little bit more leeway. And although people talk about the power of the European Research Group, another bullshit think tank type thing, at the end of the day, the ERG is going to find it difficult to overturn the 80-seat majority that the government has if the opposition vote with the government. They'll be impossible for them. So say the government say, look, we've got 34 working days till Brexit. We've got nothing in place. If you go to the government website, for gov.uk/customs/custom delays or some information, custom delays, whatever it was, the link that they gave in their video today, it comes up with page not found. It says page not found. They haven't even done the web page to tell you when the information that the hauliers are going to need to cross the border is going to be available. And the information about when they cross the border is definitely not going to be available until probably the middle of next month, which will leave less than 2 weeks over Christmas for all the hauliers in the United Kingdom to sort all their paperwork out so that they can continue to transport stuff out of the country on January the 1st. Obviously, it's going to be catastrophic. So here's the hope. Johnson, now he is shorn of Cummings, there could be a chance that he'll go for another year transition and say, well, we haven't got a deal. We can't go to no deal. It's too. If we do a deal now, it'll be done too quickly and it won't be written very well and it'll probably be shit for us. So we're going to have another transition year. And I think if they say that, then the ERG will be spitting out the dummies, won't they? Because they've all got money on it, but on the UK being a big disaster zone. But I think that Labour will vote with the Conservatives to say, yeah, can we have another year of transition? The EU don't want a failed state on their doorstep, so they will say, well, okay then, knobheads. And that'll give us another year to negotiate a better settlement, which could involve us staying in the single market and the customs union. There's no rule to say that we can't. And in fact, when the referendum happened, we were told categorically again and again by the Brexiteers that there was no question of us leaving the single market. So why leave it? Just stay in the damn thing. Paul Mason saying thunder balcony. Guys saying I love your travel stories. Yeah, it's not my best. Tom is saying if Trump gets put in jail, I hope they install a squat toilet in his cell. Yeah, when I was in jail in Cape Verde and Congo, it was a squat jail in both. It was a squat toilet in both jail cells. God, it was grim. Right-wing politics and dirty toilets, you know. I don't think that's really all that far off topic. Yes, thank you, Mike. I agree. Attila saying, how long before Cummings is back working for Gove? That's a point. Because Gove and Cummings are like that. Paul's corrected himself. Not balcony bar, thunder bar. That's what the Germans say when someone's really good in it. Phil saying, how big is the ERG? How many Tories are part of it? I don't know. It's quite a few. I think it's about 80. So if it was just them on their own, they probably could stop the government doing whatever they wanted to do. But with Labour backing, they've got no chance. You should apply for Cummings' old job. You never know. Oh my God, I couldn't be in the same room as Boris Johnson for more than 5 minutes without reaching for the ice pick. Do you know what I mean? I can't stand the way he speaks. I can't stand the way he stands. I can't stand the way he looks. I just can't stand anything about him. He just reeks of entitlement and fuckwittery. And his dad is a scumbag who violently beat Boris Johnson's mother on numerous occasions. And when this came out in a book about him, it was downplayed in the very forgiving media to say, oh no, it was just one incident. It was just one incident. Bullshit, it was one incident. It was over a series of years, and she went to hospital. The actual incident that was referred to, he hospitalized his wife. And that man is now a celebrity. He's on, I am a celebrity, get me out of here. No, he should be in fucking jail for what he did. And Boris Johnson, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And that argument he had last year with Carrie Simmons when the neighbours called up because they were concerned about the noises coming from next door. And what did the right-wing press do? They said, you look at these nosy neighbours. They're all Corbyn supporters. How dare they? How dare they listen in on other people's private conversations? Like, basically saying to people, if you see domestic violence going on, or if you hear it, don't bother ringing the police. It might be a Tory politician, and they're above reproach. Do you know what I mean? Beyond reproach, even. Oh my God, this is where we've got to, and this is where I think if we can do something over the next 4 years, and I'm hoping the 77 people who are watching this and the few people who will watch it on catch up will come with me on this one. We can't get an election for 4 years. We just can't. I mean, the mathematics behind it, what would need to happen are just a bit astronomical. But what we can do in the next 4 years is a committed campaign against the newspapers. What Extinction Rebellion did earlier in the year was something that I've wanted to do for ages. Just block the printers. Just block them and go, are you going to get your print out today? It sickens me that like newspapers like The Sun are printed. I think one of them is printed in Knowsley. That's so close to Liverpool. And that's a city that's absolutely banned The Sun. No one reads The Sun in Liverpool in their right mind. And we had this total eclipse of the sun campaign. And I really feel like that could be, Cummings gone, with Brexit happened. Those battles have been fought and gone. I mean, we're not going to get an investigation into Russia meddling in the referendum. And even if we did get it, it's too late to do anything about it now. But what we can do is disrupt the newspapers. And it doesn't have to just be physical disruption with stopping the printing presses from going out, putting obstacles in the way of journalists getting to work or sending copy. We could also do things on the internet to fuck with the search engines, with the not the search engines, with the comments threads. I never go on the comment thread on the Daily Mail, but if you had enough people all using VPNs, basically spamming the shit out of the comments on the Daily Mail, it would shut down the comments thread on the Daily Mail for that particular story, and do what they did when the other day there was a hashtag for something like Trump won the election or something like that. And it was taken over by K-pop fans who basically used that same hashtag, but then just put a clip of K-pop music on it, so that if anyone clicked on the hashtag, it came up with, it was like Biden go to jail or something mad. And it just came up with loads of clips of K-pop. It's the sort of thing that we can do if we're organized. So that's the question. How do we get organized? How do we get all this stuff into motion? How can we disrupt in a way that's not particularly illegal, in a way that's not going to get any of us in jail or leave anyone dead, but just get in the way of these absolute pipes of raw sewage that are gushing bullshit all over our nation 24 hours a day? How can we stem that flow? What can we do to disrupt them in ways that will be maddening? And another thing that's really good, that sort of the focus has been taken a little bit off it, but I thought it was great, was the stop funding hate campaign, which was they managed to get advertisers to not advertise with the Daily Mail. And I think we need to go back to that and really, really push the Stop Funding Hate campaign. So they've got no money coming in from the advertisers. Their audience diminishes because no one can have a conversation because we're just ruining it for everybody. And it's the way forward. And they go, oh, that's not fair. It's not democratic. I don't think it's democratic that the richest people in the country get to own newspapers and let us know what they think. And I don't think that's very democratic. And that's the way it is. So we've got YouTube, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitch, we've got Instagram, we've even got Snapchat, although I'm reliably informed no one uses that anymore. But we all have ways of getting our own messages out. So I don't see why the messages of a tyrant billionaire like Rupert Murdoch, a foreign tyrant billionaire like Rupert Murdoch, it supersedes our ability to put what we want out there, to say, look at this should be the agenda, because these millionaires, tyrants, billionaires, dictators, populists, scumbags, disaster capitalists have been setting the agenda for far too long. And we don't need that many people to do this. 100 people, concerted effort to take down these newspapers. We could do it. I wonder if they'll take down this video. I don't know, but get in touch. I'm not hard to reach. I'm not hard to find. So I'm quickly going to go through a couple of messages because I want to wrap it up at 10. Benjamin Forting, I like what Kevin Rudd and friendly Geordies have been pointing out. Murdoch's manipulation, corruption in Australian politics. Yeah. Kevin Rudd pointed out the fact that the Murdoch press time and time again have been basically putting any obstacles they can in the way of us doing anything about climate change, which is absolutely morally reprehensible, especially when Australia has been on fire these last few years and half the Great Barrier Reef is dead. Simi says, Russians really know how to mess up the Western world. Yeah, they do, Simi. They really do. And we need to go some way to kind of course correct that. We're in the great game 2.0 and we are sleeping on the job. The Russians 10 years ahead of us. Although Biden won. And so there is that glimmer of hope. There is that glimmer of hope. The only thing that Boris in power is Latin. And some people believe he knows what he's doing. So yeah, he's an idiot's idea of a clever man. Which someone said about Rees-Mogg, which always stuck with me. Mike says the new GOP senator from Alabama doesn't know the separation of powers and the different branches of governments are. Why does someone like that get elected? Well, Mike, there's 3 jobs that you don't need any qualifications for to do: being a prostitute, being a parent, and being a politician. 3 jobs. Just turn up. Wally says the problem with capitalism is the enemy of democracy, not socialism. Yeah, socialism is a dirty word. Yeah, Wally, you're right. Like, the most socialist states in the world are also amongst the most content and happy and peaceful. And I'm thinking of real socialist states like Denmark and Sweden. I'm not talking about fake populist socialist states like Venezuela and Cuba, which are always held up as, look at these places that they're awful, and you're like, but hang on, they're run by populists. They're run by people who run dynasties and decide who's going to be next in line for the throne. They're basically dictatorships or monarchies. They're a socialist monarchy, maybe. But what they remind me of is Pablo Escobar. Basically, a really, really horrible man, a terrible, terrible man who murdered thousands of people. He blew up a plane. He blew up a fucking plane with children on board. And all the people he's killed who had died of drug overdoses from the drugs that he was supplying. The drug mules who had these cocaine, these condoms full of cocaine and heroin inside them that split when they were going across international borders as drug mules. I mean, there's so many, the death and carnage that followed that man around and still goes on to this day. And he tried to get into politics, and that really stuck with me. There's a scene where, like, he wouldn't wear a tie in Narcos. He wouldn't wear a tie, so they wouldn't let him in because he wasn't wearing a tie. He said, you'll never be part of this. This is not for you. And he was seen as this, like, really altruistic guy by the people in Medellin because he gave money to the poor. And it was like, I guess he thought he was probably a socialist, but he wasn't. He was a populist. He just wanted to be loved by the people. And he didn't care how many people had to die in order for him to live his crazy pipe dream. So yeah, real socialism. When you point at like the Finnish education system, or you point at the Portuguese or the Swiss way of dealing with drug addiction, that's more leaning towards socialism than capitalism, if it's on a spectrum. But I do feel like there's limits to what we can say is socialism. And unfortunately, socialism, like Zionism, has been completely coerced, just like the Union flag, for fuck's sake, by bad actors who just want to use something that is a word or has a meaning behind it and turn it into something else, turn it into the enemy, turn it into, you know, these people who think, you know, the flag shaggers, we call them, who have turned the Union Jack or the Union flag into a racist symbol. How dare they do that? They've turned the poppy into a symbol of oppression that you have to wear. You have to wear a poppy if you're going on television. If you were told that you had to wear a burqa to go on television, you'll be like, hang on, what? And I know it's just a flower, but the symbolism is there. This is our culture. This is the way we do things in this country. You've got to do it this way, and it just seems oppressive to me. And I don't want the poppy to mean that. I want the poppy to be a symbol of solemn remembrance for the people who gave their lives for the country. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to wrap up now. Problem is, yeah, the main reason why Brexit happened was because not enough people were challenging the BS that the Daily Mail and others were spreading about the EU and immigration. We cannot make this mistake again. Tom, you're absolutely right. We need to do that. Freedom of the press comes with responsibility to hold those in charge to account, and they don't. They're arm in arm with the people in charge. Right-wing press abuse that freedom without upholding their responsibilities. Absolutely right. Graham, do you catch on the comments after this, the ones you missed? Sometimes, mate, sometimes I literally fall asleep on this couch. I just turn the laptop off and I fall asleep. But yeah, I'll try and go through the comments tomorrow. 3,000 people applied to be candidates for Farage's new party in just 11 days. Yeah, well, 1,000 people poisoned themselves in the Jonestown cult in the 1970s. So, you know. Mike says, I mean, to be a parent, you need basic understanding of the human anatomy to put it in, which is actually something certain politicians don't have. Wow, yeah, true. Gofi said, would you please call it the Russian government instead of the Russians? Because would you like to be called Brexiters just because you're British? Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm really sorry. I should say that. The Russian government, I should make that clear. It's not China. It's the Chinese government. It's not. Yeah, I'm sorry. Honestly, I'm sorry about that. I kind of do it for brevity to say Russia has done this, Russia has done that. But I mean Vladimir fucking Putin. You know, I don't mean Pussy Riot did it. Yeah, it is something that I need to pick myself up on. Thanks for picking me up on that. I'll try and do that in future. I'll say Russian government and Putin. And yeah, one of the things that I learned very quickly when I was traveling is you can't judge a country by the actions of its government. And now being back home, I wouldn't want anyone to judge me by the actions of my government because I didn't vote for them. Mike saying, or at least they know where they're supposed to put it. Well, what's all this sex stuff? All right, it was just a joke. Instead of a poppy, they could try a white rose. Yeah, the white rose movement was the movement against the Nazis, wasn't it? In the lead up to World War II. And Chubai says the flag shaggers don't know which way up their flag goes. Yes, that's absolutely true. And as a bit of a flag aficionado, I like to go around telling people that their flag is upside down. That is one of my favorite things. You go up to them and go, excuse me, are you in distress? And they go, no, but your flag's upside down. That's a symbol of distress. What's happening? And they go, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, which way up does it go? And you're like, oh, your flag that you're so proud of, and you don't know which way up it goes. And then the same people that it was a news story about a piece of modern art that was hung in the gallery upside down, they'd be sharing it with all the mates. Look at these knobheads. They put the picture on upside down. Just saying. Okay. So I'm gonna log off now because it's been far too long, and I've said it's gonna be half an hour, and it's gone on way too long. But yes, Dominic Cummings is gone. Maybe, we don't know. Maybe he's just taking a photo opportunity. I don't trust that guy as far as I can spit a rat. Trump is on his way out. There's no way he can come back from this. Georgia and Arizona have been called for Biden. So God, we just got to together get through the next couple of months. Just together, we just need to do that, and then we can look at Christmas and trying to see our family over Christmas if we can, because COVID and New Year, and we'll probably all have a quiet New Year in the house rather than the usual raucous lunacy that happens. And then in the New Year, maybe we can kick maybe we could just put 2020 aside and say that the 2021 is really the first year of the 20s. No, it's not. But we'll say it is. We'll be like those people who said at the millennium, oh, it's not really the millennium, though, is it? I mean, 2001 is the actual millennium. And everyone's like, oh, just have a drink and have a party, for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ. Everyone loves a pedant. Anyway, right. Share the wine. I'm off to get some more. I've drank it all. I should have put the thing up. But before I go, I'd just like to get out my Cavendish banana that I got, because I said I was going to spend the whole time talking about Cavendish bananas, because these were invented in Britain in the 1800s. And it was the chaplain of Alton Towers who made it for the Earl of Derby, who's called something Cavendish, I think, in Chatham House. And they're all clones of each other. How mad is that? Anyway, on that bombshell, I'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, 10 o'clock in the evening. Bye, everyone. Bye.